It's the Shatkin First Down Post-Draft Recap Show, presented by Dr. Todd Shatkin and the Aesthetic Associate Center, with your hosts, Rich Gaenzler and Dr. Jared Shatkin, and special guest analyst, Evan Harrington. Now, from the Shatkin Sports Network studios in Amherst, here are your hosts, Rich Gaenzler and Jared Shatkin.
Welcome to the Shatkin First Down Buffalo Post-Draft Recap Show. I'm Rich Gaenzler. Jared Shatkin's with us. So is Evan Harrington from @BFLO Fanatics. Let's get right into the draft. We got so much to talk about. Obviously, we're going to talk about the entire draft. We're going to talk about the conference. We're going to talk about the opponents for the schedule. We're going to talk about the depth chart as well. But let's get to that first overall pick in the draft. I don't think anybody thought tight end was a need necessarily going in, especially after they signed Knox to the extension. You know, I had linebacker, line of scrimmage, either one of them, wide out, obviously, and then from there, right? And yet the Bills trade up to get Dalton Kincaid, which tells me, Evan, that he was probably their best player on their board at that time. And they knew if they hadn't moved up in front of the Cowboys, there's no way they'd get that guy.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a lot of draft experts have Kincaid, as a top 10 prospect, and he fell to 25, and the Bills moved up from 27 to 25 to get him. And like you mentioned, I don't know if he's there at 27 if they don't move up, because the Cowboys probably would have snagged him up. But once again, he's a player that the Bills wanted and saw fit for what, they could potentially build on this offense. Brandon Beane said that he had a few, first round grades on some receivers, but those receivers were gone. And it's like, what pass catcher is left? Because we knew a pass catcher was potentially going to be added to this offense, but whether that was a receiver or, very down the list of that being a tight end, but the tight end fell, and we got, potentially the best tight end out of this draft very late in the first round.
Yeah, and he's not a traditional tight end. This guy's a receiver. They're talking about him being that slot guy at 6'4", 250, a matchup nightmare, in the same version physically of Travis Kelce. I mean, they're virtually the same size. Yeah. They basically have the same 40 time if you break it all down. So almost identical type players. But I think at the end, the interesting thing about Dalton Kincaid and I think you mentioned it, Jared, he doesn't have a lot of experience. He hasn't played a lot of football, even though he's 24.
Yeah, I mean, he's like another one of those players, like a Josh Allen type, where you look at it, you're like, okay, he didn't really put up the stats in college, but look at the potential that this guy has, a strong arm. And if you watch Kincaid, he did actually have an amazing last year with Utah, but he looked raw while he was playing. And he was able to create separation by in some pretty savvy moves that didn't even look like he was really polished yet. So I think that's the type of thing that can get any scout and any GM excited, is this guy was able to kind of dominate the Pac-12 without much experience.
And let's put this out there too. Here's Dawson Knox, right, who is third in the league in touchdowns from tight ends in the last 2 years, behind who? Kelce and Kittle, right? I mean, that says a lot. And yet the Bills still go out with that first pick and get Dalton Kincaid. So my question for you is, Evan, is how do the Bills play with two starting tight ends in this offense? How do they make it work?
Well, I can tell you right now, we're going to have a lot more 12 personnel packages, but we're also going to still be running a lot of 11 personnel. When people saw the, acquisition of tight end on the draft board, they're like, well, what are we going to turn more into a running team and run a bunch of, 12 and 13 personnel package sets? No, I don't think that's the case at all. I still think, we might run 5 or 6% more of 12 personnel packages just because you have that tight end. You're going to want to do that, but it's still going to be an 11, personnel base look. You're going to go out there with two athletic tight ends that can, dominate on anywhere in the field. And obviously, Dalton Kincaid, he can dominate in zone. He can dominate over the middle of the field. And it's just going to be another weapon to this offense that you're still going to be running, a lot of the base formations and a lot of the base looks, but it's just adding another weapon for Josh Allen.
Yeah, I wonder. Go ahead, Jared.
I was going to say, I think he just makes third down a lot easier. He's a guy who's really good at settling in the zone. And instead of being a 3rd and 8 team where Josh has to play hero ball, maybe now we have that Cole Beasley situation back where he can settle in the zone and we have a 3rd and 4. And also, I think he adds another couple touchdowns to this team, because I think we don't have a player that's that tall and athletic that could catch the ball like that on our team. And I think he does add some touchdowns.
Well, we can add. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was going to even say, going back, you mentioned like that 3rd and 4, look, that kind of Cole Beasley type player. I mean, we can all agree that Josh Allen plays a lot more comfortable with Cole Beasley in the lineup, especially when he's at his peak performance. And if you have Kincaid settling in this offense very early and throughout the midpoint of the season, going into playoffs potentially, really evolving his game as a polished route runner, polished catcher, and a guy that's understanding zone coverage at the NFL level. If he's adapting his game to almost that Cole Beasley type player, that's just going to make Josh Allen's life a lot easier, kind of like you were mentioning.
It's very interesting. I'm going to flip that around because I think Dawson Knox ends up being that guy that sits down in his zone. I think Kincaid's too good of an athlete to have him be that check down 8 to 10 yard guy. I think Knox is that guy. Kincaid stretches the field. Either way, you're making use of both of the tight ends. All right, guys, stick around. Coming up in the next segment, we're going to talk about the rest of the draft, the guard, the linebacker, the wideout, and more as we continue with the Shatkin First Down post-draft recap show right after this.
I am so happy with my experience that I had at iSmile Spas today. Got my teeth professionally whitened. I have months of results in less than an hour. No pain, seriously, not even a sting. They're not sensitive. You leave with a kit to continue your whitening. Absolutely incredible. I'm so happy I ever did this. I can't stop smiling.
Western New York. Smile again with confidence. Call 43-SMILE today.
Hi, I'm Dr. Todd Shatkin here with Hall of Fame running back Thurman Thomas.
My family and I have been coming to Dr. Shatkin's dental office for years. The office is beautiful and the staff is outstanding.
Thanks, Thurman. It's been an honor for me to take care of you and your family.
For a Hall of Fame smile, go where the pros go. Dr. Todd Shatkin at the Aesthetic Associates Center.
Call today for a free consultation, 839-1700.
I see patients every day that are in constant pain. They're unable to chew, they're unable to smile. With mini dental implants, I'm able to give them a new set of teeth that they can chew with, they can smile with, and finally be out of pain.
I got mini dental implants. It changed my life because it made me feel like me.
I really like the fact that, you can be you again, only better.
Mini dental implants can change your life too. You can be you again. Call us for a free consultation.
Welcome back to the Shatkin First Down Buffalo post-draft recap show. Rich Gaenzler, Jared Shatkin, Evan Harrington. Let's get into the other draft picks. We talked about Kincaid in the first segment, and one thing that I heard about Kincaid before we get to the other draft picks was a word called creativity, which might be afforded to Ken Dorsey with Kincaid in this offense, and I think we can all agree creativity was one thing that was missing a year ago from Ken Dorsey's offense.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think there was definitely some weeks where we were kind of stuck in the mud, and it looked like we were running a lot of the same plays. And I think bringing a guy who's a little different may add a little creativity to this offense.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Certainly, the pass pro at times last year was deficient. That has improved, we think, with the second pick for the Bills in this year's draft from Florida, the guard O'Cyrus Torrence. 6'5", 340, long arms. Evan, this guy, for me, was the best pick in the draft for the Bills.
Well, yeah, I mean, you had a lot of draft experts. Like, we always talk about the draft experts because that's just how, good of a draft the Bills had. They had a lot of these guys that the Bills drafted really high on their draft boards. And, Torrance was the highest rated guard in many people's eyes. And the Bills got him at pick 59 in the second round. So that just really shows you the type of players the Bills are bringing in this draft. Obviously, first with Kincaid, you have a potential future Pro Bowl or tight end, and now you bring in Torrance, and you have a potential future Pro Bowl guard. And, I mean, this guy played almost all of his snaps over his, 3 years at Florida, and he only gave up 2 sacks, and I'm pretty sure he didn't even give up a sack in his last 1,500 snaps. So he's a hard player to move. He's dominant in the run game, and good luck trying to move this guy in the pass game just because he's a big boy.
Massive.
He's a massive guy.
Yeah, for sure. And he's a guy, and he said it in some of his post-draft press conferences, that blocked for Richardson at Florida, who, let's be honest, is a lot like Josh Allen. So he knows the kind of quarterback that he's going to be blocking for now in Buffalo based on who he blocked for in Florida in college.
Right, and for his size, he's pretty athletic. He's super athletic. I mean, there really weren't too many flaws in this guy's game. You see him sticking out at 59 like a sore thumb, of course. We need to pick him right there. If you watch that last Bengals game and you saw the rush coming up the middle and you skip on that guy, I would have some questions for Brandon Beane.
Now, clearly, with Edmonds gone to the Bears in free agency, there's a gaping hole at linebacker for the Bills. And what do? They go out and get the kid from Tulane, Dorian Williams. 6'1", 228, 4'5", 40. And if nothing else, Evan, this kid's a terrific athlete.
Yeah, so obviously he's not going to be playing middle linebacker his first season here with the Buffalo Bills. Brandon Beane, made that very evident. He's going to be an outside linebacker to start, but he could potentially move to the middle linebacker position to start with. But Brandon Beane called this guy a tackling machine. He had 125 tackles in his last season at college, and this guy is an explosive athlete. He's a really good tackler. He's got a really great mind for the game, and he's a potential player in the future that could overtake the future of this middle linebacker position for the Buffalo Bills. But as of right now, he's an outside linebacker. He's kind of a depth guy that's going to probably be playing special teams, but I like the pickup nonetheless. It's always good to bring in good players to this program.
Yeah, it's interesting, Jared, that linebackers nowadays. I mean, Edmonds and Jack Campbell are guys that are not the norm anymore, right? Linebackers in the NFL are now guys that are 220, 225, 230, a Matt Milano size, and it doesn't matter where they play on the field. General managers and scouts and personnel people are looking for athletes at that position, right?
I mean, this guy went to Tulane, and he was the MVP of the Cotton Bowl, and he's kind of like a heat-seeking missile when he plays. He hits really hard. He's super explosive. I think this guy can develop into something. I think if you were going to criticize any pick, though, it might be Dorian Williams because of the fact last year we picked an athletic guy in Terrell Bernard, and we also have the guy from Clemson.
Balen Spector.
Balen Spector, yeah. And it almost is like kind of fitting the same mold. And maybe it's not a bad idea to see if one of these guys hits, but for me, that was the one where I kind of would want to take it back and maybe at a different position there.
And it's interesting, too. The Bills take the 7th round corner that we'll get to in Austin in a second. But you wonder now with Sean McDermott calling the defense, are they still going to go nickel all the time, which seemingly is what they've done. Taron Johnson has played a ton of reps and a ton of snaps in this Bills defense. Might they go to a more traditional 4-3 and play 3 athletic linebackers in this defense? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely see variations of that from the Buffalo Bills defense upcoming this next season, Sean McDermott taking over plays. But I still think you're going to see a very similar defense just because Taron Johnson has been too much of a pivotal point in this defense to just take him off the field. Now, can we see more traditional 3 linebacker sets with Williams, with Bernard, with Spector in there? Oh, for sure. There's a big opportunity and a big window to play with, that sort of stuff on the defensive side of the ball. But I still think the Bills traditionally are going to still, stay in that nickel defense just because that is what they've been so accustomed to for the last 6 years.
Yeah, and I think they just won't play a air quotes middle linebacker. You'll have a Will and a strong Sam, and that'll be it basically, right? And just use your athletes and play it based on their scheme. Let's move on. How about Justin Shorter, guys? 6'4" wide receiver out of Florida, a guy that started at Penn State, went to Florida, and when he was in high school, he was the best high school wide receiver in the country. Jared, this guy, I think, has a ton of upside.
Yeah, who I think of the Wolf of Wall Street when I think of Justin Shorter. He's one of those penny stocks that you can buy low and he gets major upside, right? This guy's 6'4", he can really run, and he didn't have much of a polished passing game to kind of go from at Florida. So let's see what we can do with a guy who's this talented. I don't know if it's this year or next year, but for a 5th round pick, I think that's a good play because he could end up being something really nice for us.
And you wonder about the measurables. He and Quentin Johnston right about the same place. Size-wise, 40 time, arm length, all of that. That says a lot about what Justin Shorter can do. I think the other thing for him and the Bills, I feel like the Bills kind of have a little bit of remorse in terms of letting Isaiah Hodgins go because Isaiah Hodgins and Justin Shorter are almost identical too in terms of size, athleticism, what their scores were, their grades were coming out of college. They're almost the same exact guy.
Yeah, when you mention that, I feel like the Bills are kind of kicking themselves in the rear end a little bit for letting a guy like Hodgins go, and they kind of wanted to get another guy like that back. And, could Shorter be that type of Isaiah Hodgins player for our team? I believe so. He's got the, like you said, the athleticism and the measurables to do that. I mean, this is a guy that only dropped 3 passes in college. He struggled a little bit with contested catches. He was 6 for 18 in that department. But again, he didn't have the most polished passing attack. But he's going to have a really big chance to come here in Buffalo and play with a really polished quarterback in Josh Allen and, really showcase his true attributes at the NFL level.
Fast forward to the 7th round now. Nick Broker, the tackle, comes in 6'5", 313. Interestingly, he won the Kent Hall Trophy in college while at Ole Miss, second-team SEC. I mean, that's pretty incredible that a second-team SEC lineman lasts till the 7th round. I mean, perhaps an air quote steal for Brandon Beane there.
Well, I mean, this is a guy that played left tackle, left guard, and even right guard in his college days. And we know how much the Buffalo Bills love versatility. They love guys that can plug and play anywhere on the offensive line, and you're getting that in Broker. I think this is a guy that has a real chance to make the roster. The 53-man is a depth, versatility lineman, just not even a guard or a tackle. He can, play anywhere on the line. What it seems like, if not, he's on the practice squad, and you got a guy that, if an injury goes down or you trade someone, you got a guy that you can potentially count on in the future.
Yeah, lastly, Alex Austin. The corner out of Oregon State, 6'1", 195. Most draft experts, Jared, thought he was going to be more like a 5th-round pick instead of a 7th, and here we are. That size is so big, and a 4.55 42. This guy could be another one of those sort of long shot surprises here.
I mean, you always see corners that get picked late and end up being super athletic and play really well in the NFL. So this is a guy that if you take a shot on in the 7th round, you see what he could do. Maybe he'll play a little special teams for us this year, but over time, maybe he can be a really solid backup to back up Dane Jackson and Trey White and Kyer Elam. And, there's a guy, Christian Bedford, last year picked late. I remember, tall and athletic, that ended up playing some significant time for us. So you really never know with these late round picks.
All right, we all have brought up a lot of names on the Bills roster. We'll get in depth on the depth chart when we come back. More with Jared and Evan. I'm Rich. This is the Shatkin First Down Buffalo post-draft recap show.
I've waited approximately 30 years for my teeth because everyone else comes first. As a mother of 2. But now it's time for me. So I called that next day and set a consultation. And then a month later, surprise! Thank you, doctor, from the bottom of my heart.
It's time for us to take care of you. Call us today for a free consultation and let us create your new winning smile.
Are you hungry? Eat. Stabilize your loose dentures with Shatkin Mini Dental Implants.
Mini dental implants are life-changing. We have patients that come in with partial dentures, loose teeth, cracked teeth, and in pain, and they're able to leave and we can restore teeth on that same day sometimes. People are smiling, they're chewing, they're eating better than ever, and it's all thanks to mini dental implants.
These implants, these are God-given teeth in an hour or 2. They're that good.
Mini dental implants can change your life too. You can be you again. Call us at 839-1700 for a free consultation.
Welcome back to the shiny Shatkin Sports Network studios, to the Shatkin First Down Buffalo post-draft recap show. Rich Gaenzler, Jared Shatkin, Evan Harrington joining you. Let's talk about the Bills depth chart now, guys. I mean, we kind of know some of the positions are breaking down like we would expect them to, clearly, but others aren't. Let's start with running back, and Jared, I'll start with you first. Damian Harris, Latavius Murray, both get added. We still have Hines and Cook. How do you think that ends up when it comes down to the 53-man determination?
I feel like Latavius Murray probably has more of an outside look at being on the roster, but I think Damian Harris can play a pretty big role in our offense. I think he had a lot of really good games against the Bills, and sometimes it's pretty normal for the Bills to sign a guy who plays well against them on their own roster. He had 15 touchdowns just 2 years ago. I really like the Damian Harris signing.
How about Hines? I know people are saying Hines is a lock. They signed Hardy. Hardy's a great return man. Why would you keep 2 guys? I mean, Hardy was a Pro Bowl return man. Why would you keep 2 guys in the return game that are maybe equivalent? Hardy might even be better. And I say that coming off of the fact that Hines was nothing like we thought he would be a year ago in terms of coming out of the backfield and catching the football.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Nyheim Hines is a very athletic player. I mean, at the running back position, you don't always see those types of players. You kind of see those more as gadget receivers, but you have that at the running back position. We know how versatile Nyheim Hines is because remember last year when we first got him, the fan base was just raving at Ken Dorsey, get him in the lineup, put him on the field. Like, we want to see what this guy is fully capable of. And we saw what he was, capable of against the Patriots when he had those 2 return touchdowns. And again, it just sparked the fan base, and they wanted to see more out of this guy. And I think they're going to be able to do that this year. When you get rid of a guy like Isaiah McKenzie, I know we bring in Deontay Hardy, but I feel like the Bills want yak and speed. And Deontay Hardy is going to be more in a traditional receiver role, being able to get those opportunities yak-wise, while, Hines is more of a guy that's going to work around the line of scrimmage, play the return role, but also play that third down back role in the receiving game and just be more of a scat back more than just a traditional, 3rd and 2 running the football.
I hope you're right, man, because I was disappointed in his lack of use a year ago. O-line, quickly, we're a little bit behind on time, but where does Torrance fit in here, Jared, with, you would think that Bates and McGovern are sort of the automatic incumbent starters at guard. Mm-hmm. So where's the battle? Is Torrance left, right? Who's he really battling with to start this season?
Well, I do think Bates probably, to me, has the best chance to get overtaken at the guard position. But
even though the Bills love him and re-signed him.
That doesn't mean that Bates isn't going to be a very valuable player for us.
Sure.
Because he can play everything. I think you got to get Torrance in the game because he's a different type of guard that we've had in years, and we haven't been able to run through the middle in years. And I think that this guy is going to be a day one starter for us.
Let's go on the other side of the football. Linebacker, Evan. We talked a little bit about Williams and what he might be for this team, but we also talked about that Bernard was here a year ago. Dodson was here a year ago. Klein was here a year ago. So how does that all play out? We know there's one guy in Milano, but now the question mark is, who's the other one? What do you think?
Yeah, so obviously we still have Matt Milano, the all-pro linebacker last season, and the Bills have been very fortunate over the last 5 seasons to be locked in at the linebacker position. We haven't had to worry about, who's going to play middle linebacker and outside for about 5 years. But now with Tremaine Edmonds gone in free agency to the Bears, we are very just question marked, like, who's going to play middle linebacker for this team? And like you mentioned, we have, Terrell Bernard, Balin Spector. We draft, Williams. We have a bunch, AJ Klein. We still have players on this roster. Metakevich. Like, we still have players on this roster that have a chance to be starters. But it's just like, who's going to, fill in that role? Could it be Bernard? Could it be Williams? Could it be Spector? I don't know. I mean, I think a sneaky pick could be Spector.
Me too. I love Spector.
When you look back at his, rookie season in preseason, he played pretty well. I mean, he showed flashes of being that traditional type of linebacker, that middle linebacker that you kind of just see in the movies, that big meathead linebacker. That's kind of what Balin Spector is. And I think he can offer that type of play for the Bills. He's a very smart player, understands where he needs to be in tackle as well. And if that's the type of linebacker the Bills want, not to overcomplicate things, I mean, that's the type of player you can put in there.
Yeah, the position battles coming in mini camp, training camp, OTAs, all that could be really, really interesting in a lot of spots for the Bills. Okay, next up, we're going to talk about the Bills' opponents on their schedule. Boy, it's looking tough. We'll break it down what they did in the offseason, in particular in the draft, when we come back on the Shatkin First Down Buffalo post-draft recap show.
What we're able to do is really restore how you used to feel when you can eat food, when you can smile. So I think being able to transform how someone faces the world, that's really one of the main things that drew me to dentistry.
It's bad going through life having to cover your face because you're embarrassed of your teeth.
So you can really impact people's lives way beyond just, fixing a tooth.
It literally changed my life.
Mini dental implants can change your life too. You can be you again. Call us for a free consultation. Hi, I'm Dr. Todd Shatkin, the clinical director here at the new Shatkin Dental Health Postgraduate Dental Residency Program. For years, I've felt there's been a need to help those patients who just can't afford quality care but want to be treated in a private dental office setting. Shatkin Dental Health will save you 20 to 30% on the procedures you need without compromising the care you deserve.
Call Shatkin Dental Health today at 43 Smile and receive a dental cleaning and x-rays for only $43. And as always, consultations are free.
All right, welcome back to the Shatkin First Down Buffalo post-draft recap show. Rich, and Jared and Evan from the shiny Shatkin Sports Network studios here in Buffalo. So the schedule is coming out this coming week, and we know who the opponents are, and it is brutal, guys. And not only the division, Chiefs, Chargers, Bengals, Raiders, Denver, who has improved, Giants, Eagles, Cowboys. The Eagles look amazing based on just what they've done in the past 2 weeks. And of course, they come off being in the Super Bowl. It is going to be a brutal schedule for this club. But in particular, we're going to touch on what the divisional teams have done. And we'll start with the Jets. And I'm going to start with you, Jared. Obviously, the elephant in the room is Aaron Rodgers for the Jets. How much does that improve them? And how much does some of the offseason moves, they get Hardman in, they get Lazard, Chuck Clark, they get the edge rusher McDonald out of Iowa State. What do all those moves make for the Jets? And how much do the Bills fans have to worry about New York?
I mean, it makes them a way better team, for sure. Aaron Rodgers going in there upgrades their quarterback position immensely. Even if he's on his last leg, he's still upgrading that position. They gave him some weapons, Hardman, they gave him Lazard. They still have Garrett Wilson. They are a scary team. Their defense is really scary. They're a team the Bills have to watch out for this year.
Okay, Evan, I'll go to you with the Dolphins now. Of course, they add Jalen Ramsey in the offseason, and they draft a corner in Cam Smith in the second round. They didn't have a lot of draft capital, did the Dolphins, going into this draft this year. So their improvements are pretty limited, despite them being really good last year. What do you make of the Dolphins going into the season?
Well, yeah, so I mean, they bring the best man coverage corner in football in Jalen Ramsey into our division. So they already got that, and they already got a pretty good corner in Xavier Howard. And, you know, they draft Cam Smith, the 51st overall pick, and it's kind of a question. It's like, what are you doing drafting a corner when you already have those two top guys? Well, Nick Needham's, you know, coming off an injury, and they need that cornerback 3, so they're going to draft Cam Smith and potentially have him fight for that. But the Dolphins, again, a very scary team, and the reason they don't have draft capital is because they've been adding big-time players all over on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. And again, they're a team that's, you know, very hungry to compete with the Bills, and, you know, they're doing that off-season, whether that's the draft or free agency.
I tell you what, the Dolphins make me nervous because they are just loaded with athletes. To me, they just didn't have scheme. They didn't have leadership a year ago. If they can change that and ramp that up a little bit with the scary athletes they have, whether it be edge, whether it be Wilkins, whether it be linebackers or the safeties with that team, they're going to be really, really tough. And then, of course, let's go to you, Jared, for the pass. They add Riley Reif. Bill O'Brien's going to be calling plays now, so Mac Jones, you would think, could be better. They add Jonathan Jones. They add Smith-Schuster. They get Gonzalez, arguably the best cornerback in the draft out of Oregon. And they get an edge rusher in Keon White. They're improved.
Yeah, they improved. I don't think they're improved enough to take over this division. I think they're still at the bottom of the division, and I don't think their team's going to look all that much different, to be honest. They don't scare me one bit.
That's good to know because, well, we don't have any love for the Patriots or anybody from Boston, quite frankly, on this show or in Bills Nation across Bills Mafia. Guys, great job. Evan, give out your Twitter handle, if you would, so people can follow and chat on you and give you their thoughts on what you had to say today.
Yeah, you can follow me over on Twitter at EvanH716 and on Instagram at Evan Harrington _63.
And of course, our YouTube, Shatkin First Down, and you can like or subscribe there. ShatkinSportsNetwork.com. Tell us what you think about the Bills 2023 draft and of course the upcoming season as well, with the brutal schedule ahead and the roster that they've built. Jared, great job as always. Great to see you. We anticipate the first show of 2023 being right around Labor Day weekend, so hope to see you back then. A lot of thank yous to go around. Our crew, Mark, Dave, Tim, Maria, Todd, Shatkin, of course, for putting this on. Athletic Associates, Shatkin Dental, Shatkin First, and iSmile as well. I'm Rich Gaenzler. Thanks for being with us on the Shatkin First Down Buffalo Post-Draft Recap Show. Go Bills!
What do you think of this year's draft choices? Share your thoughts at youtube.com/Shatkin Sports Network.
This has been a production of the Shatkin Sports Network.